Start sending in your questions through our SMS line, that is 23059. We're live across the social media platforms, that is on Facebook at EBN TV Kenya, as well as on YouTube at EBN TV. Now, the morning live starts now. Now, detectives investigating the assassination of prominent lawyer Matthew Mbobu are meticulously reconstructing his final movements on the day of his death. Now, Mbobu had left his office for a lunch outing in town around 2 p.m. attended a subsequent meeting and was heading home later that evening when the fatal incident occurred. Now, investigators revisited Magadi Road on Wednesday to reconstruct the sequence of events surrounding the shooting. Police have recovered 3 spent cartridges believed to have been fired from a small caliber pistol, which have been sent for ballistic analysis to help identify the weaponist. Now, as part of the probe, detectives are reviewing CCTV footage from key buildings and installations along Langata Road to track the movements of the suspected assailant, who were reportedly riding a motorcycle. Now, preliminary findings suggest that the attackers trailed Mbobu before ambushing him at around 5:40 p.m. in a section of the road where traffic had slowed. Authorities indicate that nothing was stolen from the lawyer, suggesting that the killing was a targeted assassination. Right, at the same time, the family of the late prominent lawyer Matthew Mbobu is in shock following his fatal shooting on Langata Road, while en route to Magadi on Tuesday. Now, the relatives described Mbobu as a courageous and dedicated legal professional and have called for a prompt and thorough investigation into his death. Family members insist that justice must be served for their son, urging authorities to act swiftly to identify and apprehend the perpetrators.
Sasa kile tunasema kile kimefanyika jana ni jambo la kuhuzunisha sana. Wakili ambaye anafanya kazi yake na mtu ambaye ni wa kutumainiwa namna hiyo nimetaja, kuuawa na wahuni sio jambo zuri, na yetu ni kuappeal kwa serikali hiyo jambo iangaliwe sana, ichunguzwe, kwa sababu tunahitaji kuwa na freedom of movement. Tunahitajika as professionals, we need to do our work without fear of intimidation, without fear. We don't have to look over our shoulders to see who could be pursuing us, particularly when we are doing sensitive cases or we are involved in our professional work. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali ichunguze hiyo jambo, iangalie kabisa na hao wahuni watiwa baroni, na hiyo jambo la aina hiyo likomeshwe. Kwa hivyo nikusema yetu ni appeal kwa serikali, na ni appeal hii maneno iangaliwe, kwa sababu sasa itakuwa ngumu sana professionals kufanya kazi tukiwa na misukosuko ya aina hiyo, kukiwa ati unaweza kuuawa kwa sababu ya vile umetenda kazi.
Right, we hope that justice will be served. Still, in matters corridors of justice, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, that is the EACC, has accused the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, that is the ODPP, of derailing the fight against corruption in counties. Now, appearing before the Senate County Public Accounts Committee, EACC officials revealed that more than 18 county corruption cases were withdrawn by the ODPP between 2023 and 2025. Now, the Commission expressed concerns that the move undermines accountability efforts and allows graft suspects to escape justice.
It would be good for us if we take our cases all the way through to court. Civil cases, as has been mentioned by the CEO, the law allows us to take our cases all the way through. And if you look at our rate of success, it is in the area of recoveries.
As we give you the product, we wait for feedback. So in short, Chair, Senator Wambua, that comes from the DPP because he's the one who has the product. And in cases where the DPP feels that we need to discuss further, we are willing, and we have always discussed. We have always sat down, in some cases discussed, but it depends on the goodwill of the DPP.
Right now, let's talk matters education, and the university's academic staff union, that is UASU, has issued a 7-day strike notice to all public universities and their constituent colleges over what it terms as the government persistent failure to honor collective bargaining agreements, that is the CBAs, worth more than 10 billion Kenya shillings. UASU Secretary General Constantine Wesonga announced that the strike will begin on September 17th and will continue until all outstanding issues, including unpaid salaries and unimplemented agreements, are fully resolved. The union accuses the government of failing to implement several CBAs, which they say has left lecturers demoralized and public universities in crisis.
The strike shall commence on Wednesday, 17th September 2025, and it shall continue until all the issues I've stated are implemented in total. 2.7 billion must hit our members' bank accounts. The 8.8 billion CBRAs for 2017-2021 CBA must also hit our members' bank account. Our members in all public universities and their constituent colleges shall withdraw their labor and shall not resume duty until the 3 issues are enumerated.
Right now, let's talk matters politics. And Labour Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka and Saboti Member of Parliament Caleb Amisi have emphasized that a compensation for victims of protest will be meaningless without ensuring justice for those who lost their lives. Speaking at a youth advocacy meeting at Ufangano House, Kalonzo noted that the government has acknowledged responsibility for the violence inflicted on young people during the protest. Now, he urged authorities to take immediate action to guarantee that every affected individual and bereaved family receives justice. MP Amisi supported Kalonzo's remarks, stressing that accountability must come first before financial redress to restore public trust and fairness.
And then the state will say, we'll compensate you. We'll kill you, then compensate you. My honest submission is let there be a blanket admission by this administration that they wrongfully detained, they wrongfully maimed, they destroyed people's property and blamed it on other wrong people, that there must be a blanket apology to the Kenyan nation. That would be something. But you cannot just, compensation without justice is not compensation. Honestly, there must be justice and demonstrable ability to say sorry.
I think I've been in so many of these youth advocacy meetings until I've exhausted. I just need to listen to you and let's have a conversation.
Now, the National Executive Council of the Democracy for Citizens Party, that is DCP, has announced key preparations ahead of the Kenya's upcoming by-elections scheduled for 27th November of 2025. Now, while also raising concerns over national security and foreign interference, during a press briefing at the party's headquarters in Nairobi, DCP leaders revealed that the establishment of 2 vital parties organs, the National Elections Board and the Internal Disputes Resolution Committee, to ensure transparency and effective internal processes. Additionally, the party has set up a fully equipped electoral secretariat to coordinate strategy, logistics, messaging, branding, and resource mobilization for its candidates.
Today, we met as the National Executive Council of the DCP party at our headquarters, and in attendance were honorable members who are great friends of the party. When we agreed on the following: 1, as we approach the by-elections scheduled for 27th November 2025, and in preparation for subsequent nominations and elections, the National Executive Council has 2 vital organs of the party: 1, the National Elections Board; 2, the National Appeals and Dispute Resolution Panel. These organs will provide the expertise required to ensure fair, transparent, and effective internal processes. As a party, we are firm in advocating for democratic governance, the protection of civil liberties, and the defense of Kenya's sovereignty against the excesses of the punitive Kenya Kwanza regime. Kenya will witness 1 senatorial, 6 National Assembly and 17 ward by-elections on 27 November 2025. NEC has resolved to work closely with like-minded partners to secure victory for the DCP candidates across the country. In the spirit of collaboration and fairness under the united opposition and our resolve to unity ahead of the 2027 general elections, leading to the identification of one presidential candidate to face William Ruto, we have agreed that DCP will support the Democratic Party in Bere North constituency, acknowledging that the seat was previously held by the Democratic Party and should rightfully be retained for the party's candidate to complete a full term, and hence DCP has agreed to give support to the Democratic Party candidate and start down our candidate at DCP. This decision has also been informed by the recognition that the Honorable Justin Bidan Mutuli, the party leader of the Democratic Party, is a great leader from that region with enhanced capacity and undoubted leadership qualities to lead the Democratic Party into winning the seat. We shall therefore support.
Right, at the same time, the Democracy for Citizens Party, led by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, has suffered a setback in Bere North following the defection of a key candidate ahead of the upcoming by-elections. Duncan Boy, the current Uvurori ward representative, resigned from DCP, citing betrayal by the party. He has since joined the CCK, led by former Minister Moses Kuria, and has been awarded the party ticket as its main candidate for the by-election.
Sisi wenye kura katika hii Bere North constituency, sisi ndio tuko na usemi wa kuangalia na macho yetu ni kiongozi yupi anaweza pepa maono yake. Maono yake inaambatana na ya maono ya community. Kweli ama si kweli? Lakini hatuwezi enda hii mkondo imeanzwa. Watu, mimi nimesema nasimama kivyangu.
You go to my record in by elections, it's clear. I mean, I'm not here to waste time. I'm not here to make a point. I'm here to deliver this seat, and most important, I'm here to hold my brother here as he reads better people and to show him that indeed it is good to learn from people who have been there, who have the experience.
Now moving on to across our borders, the Nepalese government has deployed troops in the capital city, Kathmandu, following violent protests that saw Parliament and the Supreme Court building set ablaze. The unrest erupted after government forces reportedly opened fire on demonstrators, leaving at least 20 civilians dead. Now the protest, whose cause is yet to be officially confirmed, escalated into widespread chaos, prompting the authorities to call in the National Army to restore order. Now security has been tightened around key government installations as tensions remain high in the city. Officials have appealed for calm, while human rights groups are calling for investigations into the use of live ammunition against protesters. Now back to the 254. Now a long-standing land dispute in Buruburu Phase 3 Makadara constituency, Nairobi County, is said to be resolved after the Deputy County Commissioner, that is DCC, of Makadara Sub-County, Felicitas Ngumbao, intervened to provide a permanent solution. And as Lisa Mutinda now reports, the dispute, which dates back to 1987, has caused significant challenges, including blocked sewage drainage systems and flooding during the rainy season, posing serious health and environmental risks to residents. Take a look.
A moment of joy was witnessed in Buruburu Phase 3 Makadara constituency, Nairobi, after the Deputy County Commissioner of the Makadara Sub-County, Felicitas Ngumbao, provided a permanent solution to the land issue that was reported to have been encroached upon by the International Fellowship Christ Church.
Leo tumeweza kukaa hapa na wananchi pamoja na hii kanisa ili tuweze kuleta vichwa pamoja na tuweze kutafuta njia ambayo tungetaweza kumaliza ile conflict imekuwa hapa kwa muda mrefu sana. Na ninafurahia kwamba kusema kwamba both parties wamekubaliana kwamba tuweze kukaa chini ili tuweze kutembea safari moja ya kuweza kutafuta njia ya kuweza kusolve all these problems.
This problem, which has persisted since 1977, has led to the closure of sewage drainage systems and caused flooding during the rainy seasons, thus affecting the environment and the health of the residents in the area. In a recent meeting that brought together the residents of Buruburu Phase 3 and the leaders of the IFC Church, Ngumbao emphasized that the importance of unity between both parties to achieve a lasting solution to the issue.
Tunaweza kukubaliana kwamba the community wataweza kuleta surveyor na church waweze kuleta surveyor wao ili tuweze kuweza kuestablish where the beacons of the church are na tuweze kujua pahali wayli imefikia, ndipo hiyo wayli iweze kuachwa ikiwa open for maintenance.
The residents called on the government and the Nairobi City Planning Committee to clarify the ownership of the land where the church is built, land that was originally designated for the construction of the preschool.
Lakini leo tumefurahi kwa sababu deputy commissioner wetu amekuja kutoka Makadara na tume-highlight some issues zile zimekuwa zikitu affect na church. Wameona kulikuwa na engineer mwenye alikuja mwenye ame-highlight some issues pertaining the same church, because also the same church is saying that they have the documentation, they have the land, and for now the engineer is doing due diligence to find out how this church got this land, which was meant to be a community land.
Tension escalated last week when residents voiced their frustration over the church's actions, which have reportedly contributed to the closure of the sewage drainage system and increased flooding during rainy seasons. The situation prompted a meeting between community members and the church leaders, where Ngumbao emphasized the necessity of unity to reach a sustainable resolution.
Na mimi nafungiwa wakati mvua inanyesha, siwezi toka kwa nyumba sababu ya maji imejaa hapa. Gari haziwezi kukaa hapa, zinatoka. Nakuwa na shida sana kwa hiyo ubani court sababu maji inajaa.
By mutual agreement, the residents and the leaders of the IFC Church have consented to collaborate on addressing their boundaries and activity scheduled for Thursday, the 28th of this month, which will be overseen by the Deputy County Commissioner of the Makadara Sub-County. This meeting gives hope to the residents of Buruburu Phase 3 that their problem can find a permanent solution through cooperation and constructive dialogue.
All right, thank you, Lisa Mutinda, for that particular report. All right, it is exactly 25 minutes past the top of the hour. We are due for a short breather here on Morning Live, but we'll be back in just a bit. Don't go too far.
What makes a good morning show? Relevance.
The only genuine promise that our president has made and fulfilled is the one for Harambee Stars.
Tone.
This is a clear picture of a government who is supposed to protect his citizens stealing from the same city.
Narrative.
He's already poked holes on whether or not the public participation done was up to par and whether or not he has got a bargaining ground at the corridors of court if it gets to the courts.
And most importantly, value.
If you go to arrest a corrupt person, the interpretation of a corrupt person is that that person is a thief. Exactly. And there is a law that bides a thief.
We don't just go to where the story is. We sieve through it, narrow it down, and serve it accurate.
What the principles of public participation that was supposed to have been enacted by the August House, this is the National Assembly, but they did not do, which was a disservice to them.
Balanced, realistic.
Doesn't matter whatever they are taking, whether it's hard drugs or alcohol or cigarette or marijuana, it doesn't matter what they are taking. You just deal with the client on an individual basis.
And distinctive.
We are here just to put up what we see as Gen Zs. We just want to say what we see because we are the one who are experiencing it.
But that's not all. Get ready to be inspired as you welcome a star-studded lineup of guests, talented actors.
80% ya life ya actor ni kukataliwa. Vile ukipata moja, for that one vashita, there's like 20 failed auditions.
Inspiring poets.
Baba akaniambia, mwanangu, unapofeli anguka, inuka, jikukute tena, songa mbele. Maana Yesu katika safari yake ukombozi wa mwanadamu alianguka mara 3 na baadaye alimkomboa mwanadamu.
Dazzling models.
Like we have to smile, you have to, you know, whatever you're wearing you have to show us, you know.
Soulful musicians, passionate achievement mentors and gifted portrait artists. They are here to share their journeys, their artistry and their visions for a vibrant future.
Morning Live with me, Jeff Kimai.
Right, welcome back. Now let's take a look at what's making headlines on the dailies today. I'm having the Star newspaper, the Standard newspaper, and the Daily Nation dated today, the 11th day of September 2025. Now let's take a look at what's making headlines on the Star newspaper today. Now, top story on the Star newspaper says EACC attacks prosecutor as ODPP defends dropped cases. Of course, there's a story on page 4 and 5 of the Star, and you'll remember that the EACC were actually accusing the ODPP, for derailing cases in the cases of, matters justice and corruption. Now, a fierce power struggle has erupted between the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, posing a grave threat to the ongoing war against corruption. Now, the discord reached a boiling point last week when the ODPP abruptly withdrew a corruption case against former Migori Governor Okoth Obado, exposing the deep fractures that threaten the integrity of the justice system. Now, fresh revelations have resurfaced, highlighting a long-standing standoff that stalled dozens of high-profile prosecution, leaving citizens frustrated and disillusioned. During the recent appearance before the Senate County Public Accounts Committee, EACC Chairman David Oginde stopped short of branding the ODPP the weakest link in the fight against graft, but he did not hesitate to accuse it of actively undermining its efforts. Currently, the ODPP holds exclusive authority over prosecutions in Kenya according to the Constitution. Now, in the past 2 years alone, the ODPP has withdrawn several significant cases, including the 233.5 million Kenya shillings case involving former Garissa Governor Ali Korane and a case concerning the Tharaka Nithi Governor, that is Muthoni Njoki, who faced charges of inflating the cost of incinerator from 28 million to 45 million Kenya shillings. Now, each withdrawal was accompanied by claims of insufficient evidence, but the EACC argues that such decisions inflict significant damage on their investigations and, of course, squander taxpayers' resources. Now, DPP Renson Igonga defended the decision, stating that they cannot prosecute cases that do not meet the evidential threshold for conviction. Right? That's what's up on matters corridors of justice. Now, another story which has been making headlines since the day before yesterday, why did he die? Cops retrace lawyers' steps. Of course, that is lawyer Matthew Chalom Bobo. Of course, there is a picture there of, a car which window panes, damaged, and there is a body there which has a blood-stained body, right there. Now the body of Charles Mbobu lies inside his car after he was shot dead by a hitman riding a motorcycle in Nairobi, current South area. There is a picture there of the lawyer right there, and of course how, the scenes were quite unfortunate scenes right there. Right, hope that justice will be served to that of the bereaved family and of course friends. Of course, may he rest in peace. All right. Moving on, victims of court abuse don't report, rights Lobe Savi. Now, despite long harassed, arbitrarily arrested, extorted, shot, or disappeared, majority of victims of police exercises are not likely to report to authorities, as public confidence in the criminal justice systems have severely tanked. A survey by the International Justice Mission has shown. Of course, there's a story on page 2 of the Star newspaper. Also, another story making headlines on the Star newspaper front page. Audit exposes financial rot and massive land grab at ADC. Now, the new audit has put the Agricultural Development Corporation on the spot, detailing serious financial mismanagement, legal breaches, and systematic governance failures. It covers the period of June 30th of 2024. All right, that's a story on page 8 of the Star newspaper. Now let's take a look on what's making headlines on the Daily Nation, dated today, the 11th day of September 2025. Now, top story on the Daily Nation says, House Lane lawyer was ambushed. That's, of course, on the front page, or rather the first page of the Daily Nation. Now, lawyer Charles Mbobu built his career on precedent in courts outside it that, devolution and routine may have sealed his fate. Now, on Tuesday evening, assassins on a motorcycle stalked the 72-year-old advocate along the Magadi Road and shot him dead in what investigators believe was a carefully planned hit. Now, for decades, Mr. Mbobu, daily routine was never wavered. He arrived at his townhouse office before 6 a.m., prepared for the day, and walked to the Holy Family Basilica for the 6:30 a.m. Mass. Now, by 8 a.m., he was back at his desk. Lunch was usually delivered to him at 4:30 p.m. sharp. He left for his current home, driving via Langata Road. Now, on the fatal day, he had lunch away from the office due to meetings. Right now, shortly after 6:30 p.m., past Galleria Mall and Brookhouse School, the killers struck. The spot covered in bush and poorly lit forced drivers to slow at a bend. Right now, with no CCTV cameras and little human activity, it was a perfect ambush. The gunmen fired multiple rounds before fleeing into the traffic. Now, yesterday morning, homicide detectives and forensic officers examined the scene. The killing stunned the legal fraternity. After 48 years in practice, Mr. Mbobu was one of Kenya's most senior lawyers, respected and litigator, lecturer at the University of Nairobi, and mentor to generations of advocates. All right. And of course, yesterday you'd remember that the investigators retrieved 3 spent cartridges, which of course will help in the investigations in regards to what actually transpired, and bring perpetrators to justice. All right. Now, moving on to matters healthcare. Now, 2 years after surgery, Caroline Wakanyi is battling rheumatic heart disease. It's recovering at home in Kenol. That's a feature story on page 10. Matters healthcare. Matters education. Lecturers strike to disrupt learning in public universities. That's on page 7 of the Daily Nation, dated today. And of course, you remember yesterday, WASU chairperson, that is Dr. Constantine Wesonga, says they have issued the government a 7-day ultimatum to adhere to their collective bargaining agreement, to resolve the issues that they had agreed upon in matters education. Of course, varsities, crisis looms. as lecturers vows to strike in the next 7 days. That's 1 week from now, right? Let's take a look on what's making headlines on the Standard newspaper dated today, the 11th day. Now, assassins on wheels, that's the top story on the Standard newspaper. Now, Nairobi lawyer Madhu Chalo Mbobo was on his way home when he was shot in the head by a gunman on a boda. Not only was a family man killed, but also a lawyer, lecturer, and a philanthropist eliminated. This is Nairobi's new phase of terror, gun-toting assassins on motorbikes, cutting down lawyers, MPs, and businessmen in broad daylight, leaving a trail of blood, grief, and unanswered questions. Now, the murder in Karen is the latest in a chilling pattern of exposes a broken security system and a police force that appears clueless in the face of such brutality. And you remember also just days, rather not days, but months ago, Kasipul, member of parliament, that was Charles Ongondo, was killed by gunmen on a motorbike on Ngong Road in Nairobi. Now, on May 16th, on May 2016, controversial businessman Jacob Juma was shot dead near Ngong Road, Karen interchange. Now, in 2015, the cabinet member of parliament, George Muchai, his 2 bodyguards and a driver were shot dead in Nairobi's CBD. And you'll wonder, one may wonder, how the security operators are really operating. Of course, you'll remember just, weeks ago, there have been claims of Jubaland forces invading, the country. Of course, in the Mandera side, quite a worrying, trend in the country where, someone cannot pursue a career because of fears that he or she may be eliminated one point in time. All right, and there are also stories on the family, colleagues, and recall house-laying lawyer and lecturer led humble life. Of course, that's a personal story of him on page 5, page 4. Fear as assassins on border roam freely in the city. That's what's making headlines on the Standard newspaper. Also, matters politics on page 6 of the Standard newspaper says president who eats, sleeps, and dreams of changing how everything is done. Right? That's an interesting feature right there. You may want to take a look at it on page 6 and 7 of the Standard newspaper. Matters politics says, top story, or rather the headline says, president who eats, sleeps, and dreams of changing how everything is done. I don't know what's your take on that particular title. Of course, we'll take a look on that. Now, EACC to sanitize, let us take our cases all the way through our courts. That's matters, corridors of justice, where the EACC accuses the old DPP of, derailing corruption cases, which they say, of course, infringes justice. And Ruto falls his PhD and political acumen, but critics won't hear of it. That's a story on page 8 of the Standard newspaper, dated today, the 11th day of September 2025, matters politics. All right, it is exactly 42 minutes past the top of the hour. You're now up to speed with those making headlines this particular morning, as well as making headlines in our newspapers this morning. Now, we're taking a short breather here on Morning Live, but when we come back, we're going to take a look on, matters revolving the corridors of justice, matters family law, get insights from our advocate this particular morning. She's going to, educate us and, of course, share insights about family law. We're going to tell you about, child custody and how that is. You don't want to miss that particular conversation. Start sending in your questions through our SMS line, that is 23059. And of course, we're live across the social media platforms, that is on Facebook and as well as on YouTube. You can also send us your questions and feedback on our Facebook page at EBN TV Kenya. Right, we are due for a short breather here on Morning Live, but when we come back, we're going to tell you more about that. Don't go too far.